Welcome to the Medical Device Made Easy podcast. Here is Monir El Azzouzi from easymedicaldevice.com. And today we will talk about online selling, online products. So I know that you are all using those online platforms where you are buying your products, maybe furniture for your home or anything. But you can also buy some medical devices. So let's talk about that because there is a phenomenon that happened. I don't know why, but since the 26th of May, 2021, I got, and many of my also colleagues got a lot of calls from people that are selling products online, and they say, "Oh, we have a problem. Can you help me?" And when we listen, it's always the same story. So we wanted to talk to you about that and to help you also to go over this situation and maybe to understand why this is happening also. So for that, I have with me Michael Wetherington from medicalrex.com. So Michael was on a podcast previously, and he's now here to help us to understand the situation because he is one of my colleagues that has also this problem. So Michael, welcome to the Medical Device Made Easy podcast.
Thank you, Monir. Glad to be back again on your podcast, and hopefully we can help out many of your viewers regarding online sale. Yeah.
So just maybe for people that don't know you, can you tell us more about you, who you are, what you are doing, and what is medicalrex.com?
Sure. So I'm Michael Wetherington. I founded medicalrex.com, and the company offers a variety of services, regulatory across different markets. We also provide medical device R&D consulting as well, because my background comes from a medical device R&D environment as well. So it's a little bit of everything, and we primarily target major markets to help customers enter the markets: FDA, Canada, Europe, UK, and so forth. ASEAN is one of our biggest
service it was the topic well. It was the topic of our podcast was ASEAN. So just to talk about this one,
So like Monir said, late last year or last quarter of last year, we've been getting a lot of queries about devices being sold on Amazon. Oh, our product got suspended, or we got a notice. What do I do? So, we get a lot of that call from, suppliers from overseas and selling products across Amazon. So I thought, Monir and I would put some perspective. I guess we can't answer everything on a podcast, but it's driving a lot of people crazy. They're in a panic mode just based on what we sense just talking to them. And a lot of these suppliers don't have no knowledge whatsoever of regulatory, so now they're facing it. So we want to provide as best information as we can in this short podcast for you.
Yeah, no, I think it's clear because as you've said, most of the people that we are talking with never understood really the regulatory or quality part of medical devices, but now they are kind of obliged to look at that. And we'll focus today, I think, on two regions, so US and EU, and it's nearly the same in both regions. We have in the US, we have some requirements for medical devices on online marketing, also online sales. And what are they? So can you just make us a brief explanation of what is the requirements for US companies or platforms like Amazon, etc., for regarding medical devices?
Yeah, for US, it does not discriminate or pick and choose what form of platform you choose, whether it's on retailers, hospitals, or pharmacies that you sell your devices on. The fact of the matter is, if it's a medical device, it's within the scope of the FDA's regulatory requirements. You have to meet those requirements, whether you're selling it on Amazon or somewhere else or some physical location within the United States. You still have to classify them. You still have to follow the regulatory path based on your classification. So there's really no distinction whether you're online or offline when it comes to the FDA. Of course, if the medical device is going directly to a consumer, let's say it's a home healthcare device, then you don't necessarily need an importer like you would if you were bringing in large numbers of medical devices for distribution throughout the US market. So a lot of that, when you make a purchase online, you're already addressing the customs taxes and so forth. So the end consumer or user becomes actually the importer of that medical device. Yeah. So that is just one small distinction. But regulatory wise, it doesn't matter whether you're selling online or offline. If it's class 1, class 2, class 3, you have to meet those requirements respectively.
And you have also to have, if you are coming from outside of the US, for example, you have to also to have kind of an authorized representative in the US,
right?
Which is called the US agent. So what is this function again?
Yeah, the function of the U.S. agent is it's really not much different than that of the EUAR. It's basically as a foreign company, you have to have a representation, local representation within that market. So because FDA does not have jurisdiction over the foreign manufacturer, right? So you have to have somebody locally that they can talk to and communicate on your behalf. So they're like a communication medium between the manufacturer, foreign manufacturer, and the authorities, in this case, the FDA. And US agents can help you register your establishment and list your devices with the FDA as well. So
okay.
That's primarily the role of the US agent.
So do we have in the US some inspections maybe of platforms for checking that they are following the rules or this kind of thing? So do you think the FDA is doing those kind of checks?
No, I don't think that the FDA has the resources to check every supplier of medical devices being sold on major platforms. But the platforms themselves, such as Amazon, as an example, they do have policies for offering medical devices on their platform. So when you accept that agreement between that platform and yourself as a seller, you're basically saying, I comply with the regulatory requirements for that respective market. So you can truthfully say, yes, you did or not. That's up to you. But eventually, the surveillance, as you already know, has increased quite a bit, the activity for surveillance, that eventually Amazon or someone will eventually catch up with you, or even your competitor can tell on you or whistleblow on you because they spent a lot of money trying to meet the regulatory requirements, but on the other hand, you're just disregarding it. So I'm going to tell Amazon that you're not in compliance. So it could, that's another way of policing it, I guess, for those non-compliant devices that are being sold online. So it's either the platform itself will get you, or your competitors will tell you, will tell on you, basically.
Yeah. So in Europe, it's as we said, nearly the same. You can sell your medical devices online unless it's prescribed. Then you have to have a prescription before you can get those products.
Yeah.
Is it the same in the US? So you have also some kind of authorization only if you have prescription also, like Eric's. I think there is an Eric's on it or something like that.
Yes, the prescriptions designated by the RX. So you can't just buy it online as if you're just buying any other item or product. So you need a prescription to be able to purchase that.
Okay. And in Europe, we have also the same rule as you said, that if you sell to direct consumers, there is no need of an importer. Normally, when you come outside from Europe, you need an authorized representative like the US agent and an importer. But if you sell directly to the end consumers, there is no need of an importer. And this is mainly mentioned on the blue guide of the CE marking. So just mark CE marking blue guide on Google and you'll find it. And there is a specific place on the importer paragraph where it talks about that specifically of if you are targeting directly EU consumers or users, there is no need of an importer for that. So this is, if I can say, a good thing. But one question I get a lot from people that are contacting us is, but I was selling my products in Europe, for example, since 20 years or 10 years or some years. And it was fine. Nobody asked me anything. But now the platform are starting to ask me my declaration of conformity, my documentation that labels contain this, contain that, etc. So what's happening? I mean, this is the question. What's happening there? I say, mainly we had MDD, which had not a lot of requirements for economic operators. Like, as I've said, just look at the environmental control, like transport conditions, storage condition, to now check the declaration of conformity, check the UDAMED registration, check the labels, check the authorized representative, check. I mean, a lot of checks. So is this something that you also noticed from your customers?
Yes, because of the increasing, market surveillance, it's causing a lot of hysteria, I should say, with a lot of these suppliers who've been marketing or selling their products for decades, like you said. So now they're scrambling for information. How do I comply with the EU MDR? How do I comply with the US FDA and so forth? So they're not aware of what's really required, even though as a class one, for example, that there's still documentation that you need to meet as a manufacturer exporting to the EU as an example. So I get a lot of that, and they get really overwhelmed by the things that I share with them, because it's not something that happens overnight, especially if you have no knowledge or prior experience or regulatory, irrespective of market. So we really have to hold their hands and educate them at the same time on the steps that's necessary for you to enter the EU market, even though you're selling your products online. Same thing with the US and Canada. So that's what we're getting.
So it's in terms of customers. So as you said, they are coming to you. I suppose they are not coming to you voluntarily. It's just that they are obliged to come to you because the economic operators are telling them, I need this, I need that. So I need that document. So where can I get that? And then they start to reach out to some consultants for that. So did you had any kind of customers that maybe where you start to dig on their products, there are more and more issues that are raising here?
Right. I mean, I'll give you an example of a customer that we have. They're trying to enter the U.S. market with their hot selling first aid kits.
Okay.
So what they don't seem to understand, some don't understand that the regulation says that if you're selling a first aid kit, all its contents, however many they are, or different variety of medical devices, they have to comply with the respective regulations. So as we dig deeper inside the kit, excuse me, we're finding that some devices are class one, some are class one that requires 510K and GMP. Some are class two, like a CPR mask, a vinyl glove is a class one. That requires 510K and GMP requirements. So to them, the whole kit was just class one, which is a very bad misconception, because the regulation says that the contents of that kit has to be in compliance with the respective regulations. So you can have class one, class two. You may have a different combination, a class one with that are exempt across the board, a class one that may not be 510K exempt or GMP exempt. So what we're doing is dissecting each individual device inside their kit and identifying their classification and pro code or product code based on the FDA, and identify the regulatory path that they need to take and other documentations that they need to develop in order for them to say that, yes, we have met the requirements for that type of device. So although the majority are class one, but I think it's an easy default for most that if it's class one, I don't have to do anything. Yeah. Don't forget, even a class one has general controls requirement within the FDA. So you can't say zero documentation needed. There's always going to be documentation, even just for general controls like post-market surveillance, incident reporting, procedures, etc. Right? So that's what we're finding, and a lot of them don't have any idea how to start it. What are the required elements for me to comply with my class one or two devices? So we're having to guide them, identify what path is best for them, and guide them along the way. But we do tell them that it's not going to happen overnight. Some of these requirements will take some time. That you may not even be aware that are requirements, like transport and storage conditions, your shelf life. How do you know? Did you randomly pick 3-year shelf life, or did you actually verify that through some accelerated aging test? So which could impact your safety and performance or effectiveness, right? If that's not being stored properly in the right conditions. So those things are very important when it comes to the safety and effectiveness of your device.
Yeah, and I suppose there is also the kind of a surprise in terms also of the time, as you've said, it's not like just a form to fill and to send to the authorities. There is a dossier like 510K. There is a quality management system for GMP. There is a surveillance to put in place. So it's also a budget, I suppose, for that. So it's not like it will come overnight. It's not also like it will be free of charge to do that. Free, it's not. It's first you are paying a consultant maybe to help you for that, but you have also to pay the FDA, because if you go for a 510K, there is also some fees within the FDA. So when you start to talk about a first aid kit that maybe costs $5 to $10, and then you have to do all that, I suppose there is this balance to say, should I continue to sell that, or do you think? Do they have this kind of idea?
Yeah, I guess for small price items like this, it makes you, as a supplier, it makes you contemplate the idea of making an investment to meet regulatory, right? However, if you may be looking at it from the long term, and this is a hot selling product for you online, that if you are to do your calculations right, your projections, income projections or revenue, you might say it may be worth the investment today, $20,000, and then in the next 10 years, I can make X number of dollars. So it'll clearly, recuperate my investment. But yeah, there's that default thinking that my price is a small value. My product is a small value. That is it really worth for me? Investing 10K or 20K US dollars to be in compliance with the FDA. Well, that's an answer they have to themselves based on their business model and growth that they have to answer themselves. But certainly there are people out there who would just completely ignore it, right? It's too much money. I'll just take the risk and continue until somebody takes me down or takes me out of the platform or fines me.
This is also the idea to say, okay, I will just sell until somebody stops me. And as you said, that there is a competitor that maybe says, oh, this guy is not following the rules and you have to kick him out, etc. So it's something that can happen here. There is also, for example, for Europe, as I've said, we have also some customers that are coming for Europe. We have a lot of Amazon now that has also in Europe some policies for medical devices and ask, can you send me this document like declaration of conformity or that? Or we will stop the shipping of your product. So it's also that. And as you've said, they are calling us and saying, oh, can you help me? We should not stop the delivery. So can you give me the document that they asked me, etc. And and this is always the same thing. As you've said, when people are not knowledgeable about the process, they think it's just a formula to fill. And when we tell them, okay, do you have those testing for like biocompatibility testing? Do you have this risk analysis? Do you have this whatever document that is needed, etc.? And they say, no. I say, what can I do for you then? Because you have first to have that before I can build the technical file or before I can show that you are compliant, etc. Which makes the discussion really difficult because they are, as we say, in a panic mode to say, my God, I need to continue selling or I will lose a lot of money. And they are in a mode where I say, okay, but it will take maybe 3 months to get all that and to finalize all this. 3 months is too long, etc. Yeah, but if you continue to overthink, it will maybe take 9 months because then you will go from maybe to another consultant that will tell you exactly the same thing. Because it's not like it's not like there is a negotiation.
Right.
It's not like there is a negotiation. I say, oh, if I go to this consultant, you will maybe have another idea. No, I can show you it's written black on white on the regulation. You have to have that, and that, and that. It's not like there is a discussion or we are negotiating something. No, it's written that. So if you want that, I can help you, but it will take maybe 2 to 3 months for getting that.
Exactly.
So the other thing about class 1, you've said that earlier, there is some issues with class 1, is also about class 1 that are sterile. So do you have a story about that?
Yeah, again, going back to class 1, there's this, at least with the online sellers, they have this misconception that because it's class 1, I don't have to do anything else. I don't have to submit to anybody else, a third party or an authority. So they have that perception just because it's class 1 that, it doesn't require much effort or expense for me. But as you pointed out, sterilized devices in the US requires what is class 1. it requires additional steps, just like in the EU. A notified body needs to look at your that section of the sterilization process and validation of that. So I think we're a lot of these suppliers that are newbies to regulatory, that just because it's class one doesn't mean it's completely hands off. And I think over the years or decades, there's that conception that, okay, even though it may lean towards class two, I'll just classify it as class one because there's not much to do, that perception. So that's where they get in trouble, because they're defaulting to class one, where in fact it may not be class one, or it's a class one, but it does require a 510K or a GMP. So although most class one are exempted from 510K and GMP, but there's a few class ones that you have to take additional steps that requires the FDA's intervention per se, or at least assessment. So
in terms of solution now, so I mean, we talked a lot about the problems and things. So what would you advise maybe those manufacturers? So what they should do? I mean, what I hope is that just maybe a clarification. The discussion we have now is not to blame those people because they are coming in panic mode and this and that, and it's crazy, etc. No, the idea here today is to explain to you what is the situation, why there is this situation, and before you go to a thing to say that, oh, it's easy, I will just contact somebody and he will solve the issue. No, there is a big process that goes ahead, but more quickly you go to this process, better it is. So what is this process, if I can say, or what is the solution for them? What they should go, what is the different stages, if I can say, they should go for?
Yeah, I think more and more online suppliers of medical devices are recognizing that there's an increase in surveillance from online platforms, as well as your competitors are keeping an eye on you as well. So I think that is becoming more prevalent or apparent to most suppliers. But the issue would be is that since they have little or no experience with regulatory, you really have to spell it out to them. They cannot talk between RAs would talk with each other, right? You can't make assumptions that the terminologies of regulatory. So you have to take your time and hold their hand. And this is your classification. These are the steps that you need to take, and take it step by step. Don't overwhelm them with a bunch of information, because they will just get more confused and panic even more. So take the time to lay out. This is a good time to start now. Don't wait till somebody catches you or tells on you. If you want to continue selling, the action to take is today, and plan that out. Plan your regulatory strategy. If you're selling across multiple markets, plan that out. Identify your classification and all the requirements that you have to take in order for you to comply. That's pretty much it. And in terms of time and cost, that would all depend on how many different devices you have that you're offering, and what the classifications are. If it doesn't require a submission to the FDA, as an example, or a notified body assessment, then obviously it would be quicker, because you have to consider the time of the FDA to turn things around, as well as the notified body and their respective costs. But if you're doing a straight class one general controls, you should go fairly quickly. And a lot of RAs and consultants can write your procedures for you to address the general controls requirement for class one. But when you get into higher risk devices, or if you have sterilization or measuring function, you have to consider the time and cost of the notified body and the documentation you have to prove or show for the notified body.
No, I think it's exactly that, So the idea is that don't panic. Stay calm. We can help you. It's not a problem. But yeah, it's a long way. And at the end, as we said, not all your competitors will do that. So then you'll have an advantage on them, because you are able to sell, and we have on the long term, when they maybe will sell for a few months or 1 year, and then they will be stopped immediately by the regulators because of that. So you have some kind of advantage if you go ahead on that situation. So it's not too late. you can do it. You just have to start today and not think, if I can say that, you can still push that line back. Okay, Michael. So it was really interesting. I hope, for me, as I've said, the idea here is not to blame anybody. The idea is to help, to provide some guidance, to tell exactly where you should go, what you should do, and to avoid some misconception or misinterpretation, to also understand that this is a timely process, costly process also. So it's not something that will cost you just 1 hour of consulting that will to write a document, unless you have all the documents and we have just to review maybe that. But yeah, it's something that you have to understand. So now that you understand that, now you can choose your consultant, choose your people that will work with you, choose your US agent or authorized representative, and then understand what exactly you need to ask them. And also maybe understand why they will ask you this question or that question. This is really the objective of today's podcast. Okay, Michael. So where people can follow up with you, and you are one of those consultants that people can contact also if they are needing any support related to online sales.
Hey, I'm fairly active on LinkedIn. In fact, that's where I met Monir some time ago. So I do posting on subject matters like this. So, but you can reach me directly through my website, medicalregs.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn. I don't have my actual profile address memorized right now, but
I will put that on the show notes. I will put that on the show notes. And
you'll find me quicker on LinkedIn because I'm pretty much plugged into LinkedIn 24/7. So, you can ask me questions regarding your situation, and I'll do my best to help you out and provide quick answers for you.
Great.
Yes. Yeah, I appreciate you again inviting me, Monir. Hopefully, we're able to shed some light on some areas about medical device being sold on online platforms. So I think we can expect a lot more suppliers coming and knocking at our doors. And Monir and I will do our best to help those suppliers. And again, like Monir said, we're not blaming anybody here. It's not your fault as a supplier that you're not aware of regulatory requirements. In fact, even today, a lot of RAs have been in the field. They're learning some of the new regulations between MDD and MDR and whatever else is changing across the globe. So we're all learning, but certainly we can speak and help you regarding your online medical device sales that hopefully will allow you to keep selling and not be interrupted. Yeah.
Great. Okay. So thank you, Michael. And for everybody that is listening, don't hesitate also to go on the show notes for looking at the information that we place there. If you have any question, you can also go on the comments and just place your comments. If there is something that is for Michael, I will send that also to Michael or inform him that there is a comment from him on the platform. And don't hesitate also to share all these episodes, the podcast episode, with your colleagues, because I suppose there is also other people that maybe don't know this podcast and maybe want to learn about medical devices, and that can be interesting for them. I hope, because the objective is really that to help you, educate you, teach you, and tell you exactly what is going on the market actually. Okay, Michael. So it was really a pleasure to have you, and I wish you a nice day.
Likewise, it's a pleasure. Thank you, Monir.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.